Okay, thanks, Karma. All right, let's get started then. Okay, so good day, everyone, wherever you are. Welcome to this second day of this two-part workshop on developing ADB's air quality program, or seeing how we can extend ADB's existing air quality work. Today, we're going to focus on more of a brainstorming component to look at possible directions for this so-called Asia Clean Blue Skies program that we're calling it at the moment, and that we would like to develop very much in collaboration with operations departments and other partners. The main purpose of today's session is really to provide an initial venue for hearing and listening to operations departments' views on both the opportunities as well as the constraints for developing up this program, and really proposing some initial ideas for the potential scope and parameters for a program, maybe even some targets that we think might be realistic for us to work to. And I think from our mind in SDCC, we were seeing this as something of, maybe a phased approach. Obviously, as we heard yesterday, air quality is not a new issue, and it's been a very challenging one to move forward. So, clearly we want to see some, new energy and new investments and work around capacity development move into this space. But we'll also have to be realistic that, this isn't something we're going to be able to solve in 1 year's time. So, how can we develop up a program in sort of a phased way that will really be able to make a difference in the long term for the region? Now, this builds obviously on yesterday's session. For those that joined yesterday, I think many of you did. We heard from UN Environment Programme, the Clean Air and Climate Coalition, and the WHO initially, talking about some of the regional issues and strategies. And I think what was, somewhat encouraging there is that, there are a lot of existing knowledge out there in terms of the strategies and solutions, and clearly actions needed. We also heard, on that front that, the impacts on health is clear, and there's a lot of strong data for action there. But also, I thought it was very interesting from the Climate and Clean Air Coalition in terms of, why addressing air quality and issues like short-lived climate pollutants is actually so critically important for getting to 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees as part of the Paris climate agenda. So this, really is critical for that agenda as well. And there's a lot of opportunities for us to move together. There's also increasing political commitment at a high level, but obviously translating that into, direct action on the ground is where the remaining challenge is. And we heard a bit from the World Bank and EBRD in terms of the way they're approaching it. World Bank is, for example, in India, looking at these, national strategies and taking an airshed approach. And I think that's something for us to look and learn at. We're doing some work around city level action planning, and from Karen Shepherdson, she was saying, well, in their view, you've got to step up from that city level and also be working on the, national policies and national level agenda as well. So I think that's something for us, to take on board there. And EBRD also, I thought, their presentation was interesting, but very much around the financing side and how you can integrate some of this within, green financing strategies and integrating within projects. So that was all useful. And I think the other element coming out of that was around, partnerships. Obviously, there's a lot of people working in this space. And for us to do more, I think, there's certainly opportunities for us to work. Like, for example, with WHO, you heard a lot of, strategy and commitment there and capacity building linked to, their work around non-communicable diseases. So I think that was extremely useful. And of course, this builds on the previous 5 seminars that Karma has been leading from September around air quality issues. And actually, in a few minutes, Karma will present a bit more on just a few of the lessons learned from those 5 webinars that we've done. So, I think that should give us a really good foundation to do some brainstorming today. And of course, into the details of the session. So it's going to be different. Yesterday, we did a lot of listening. Wasn't so much time, I'm sorry, for discussion. We maybe packed in too much. But so yesterday we've learned, today we discuss, and we're going to have some breakout sessions. And I really want to thank particularly Priyantha, Ravi, and Nita, who are going to be helping us with leading some of those. They're really, directed around getting operational views, and we really wanted to have colleagues from operations to be able to ground some of those working groups, so it's not just an STCC perspective. So, big thanks, and special call out to Saad. You're the champions there for helping us with these sessions today. So, look, I think that gives us a bit of a background. We can now move into the program. So the format will be, Karma's going to speak next in terms of some of those takeaway messages. We'll then move into a Mentimeter session, and that will be followed by, again, Karma, who's going to give us a bit more details into how the breakout groups will work. And then we've got these series of breakout sessions, which will then be followed by a sort of a broader discussion around the next steps. So with that, we'll get started. Thank you again so much for the support and enthusiasm for this, and I hope we can, really together get some good directions moving forward. So thanks again, and over to you, Karma.
Thank you, Bruce. So I will make my presentation very, very quick. This is what I was supposed to present yesterday, but of course, we went a bit over time. So just very quickly, I just want to present the main messages from the 5 webinar that we had organized since September 7. Do you see my screen, Bruce?
Yes, it's coming through. Karma, you might just like to put it onto full screen. There you
go. Is it on full screen?
It's showing, the view is showing us one slide and then the next slide. You might be able to organize it so it's just one screen.
Okay, I think I did it. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit slow. So anyway, just to quickly present, we had 5 webinars starting on September 7th, which was the first International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies.
Karma, sorry, let me just interrupt you before you go too far. For me, it's not really coming through clearly. You might like to just stop sharing and try that again. Is it working?
I think there's just a delay because I see that little circle spinning. I think there's just a delay.
Okay.
If we wait a minute, it might work.
I can share the PowerPoint if needed.
Do you want to try that, Trixie? Yeah, I think it was you're not coming through very clearly there.
2 minutes ago, it worked fine.
Yes, dress rehearsals, and then there's reality. It changes.
Yeah, reality is always different.
Yeah, no worries.
Please share from the SharePoint folder. Or do you have it downloaded already?
Karma, why don't you just get started verbally, and then we can catch up with the slides.
Karma, there's no revision from yesterday, so I'll use that.
Yes. So so anyway, the main messages, I don't want to repeat too much, is very similar to what we heard in the presentations yesterday. That next slide, if you can go to the next slide. Yes. So, yes, so these were the 5 webinars that we organized. Next slide, please. And these were the resource persons. So we had speakers from a wide variety of organizations, from UN, WHO. Just like yesterday, we also had them in the previous webinars. We had some government agencies, Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Mongolia. We had from the London Municipal Authority. We had a couple of research institutes and universities, so a wide variety of resource persons that spoke in the webinars. Next slide, please, Trixie. And I know this is a very wordy slide, but if you can please just look at the blue, bold and blue font. So the main messages is nothing new. We already heard it yesterday that air pollution is a complex problem because it's cross-sectoral and cross-boundary. And in terms of addressing it, we need to come up with integrated actions and cooperation at various levels of the government, from the national to the local level. And one of the speakers, mentioned this very eloquently, that there is no silver bullet solution. I think this was the webinar that Nita had moderated. And there is no one size fits all solution. And we really have to look within the local national context and local context and identify solutions which are more suitable within the local context. And then there is the opportunity of co-benefits, wherein a lot of activities which address air pollution also address climate mitigation, also bring improved health, social benefits, gender benefits. So therefore, there is an opportunity for us to access resources or finances from financing agencies which have themes around climate change or gender or health. So that is an opportunity, and private sector has a very important role to play, particularly in with regard to technology and scaling up advanced technology in order to address air pollution. And finally, that it is not all doom and gloom. There are solutions. We have learned a lot, as was presented by Kakuko yesterday from UNEP, and there is this publication. Next slide, please. Which I think we heard quite a lot about, and it's quite nicely organized into the different sectors, which is sort of matches with the way ADB is organized into the different sector divisions. So there are a lot of solutions there. Next slide, please. And also very quickly in terms of the learnings, and we had some case study examples, and I thought this one from London was very interesting in that they went through the Great Smog back in 1952. And in some ways, it's like we in South Asia particularly are experiencing this only now. And it's kind of sort of, there is this time lag, but however, there is an opportunity for us to learn from their experiences. And what we learned from London is that though they faced that smog problem back then, but now the air pollution problem has evolved and changed, and it's more being generated from the transport sector. So efforts are being more focused there. And of course, there is this a lot of good experience from PRC, where there have been dramatic changes in the air pollution levels, a lot of improvement. And Mongolia, we also saw that yesterday from Annabelle's presentation. And it's actually quite recent. Just in 2017, they had this national level program, and it's just some of the initial activities have already started generating these dramatic changes and improvements in air quality. Next slide, please. So just very quickly, there is, because we are right now in the era of the COVID pandemic, so there is a lot of evidence showing that poor air quality does worsen the impacts of COVID-19. There are more cases of people catching COVID-19 and more deaths also, where the air pollution, where the air quality is worse. Next slide, please. Next slide, Trixie. And then the next slide is on the other way around, where the COVID-19 lockdowns have led to improvements in air quality. And this is one of the examples from UK, sorry, where there was this reduction in NOx levels by 70%. And you see the blue lines, those are basically the transport hubs and pollution generated by transport. And this is what was captured from the satellite images. I think that's it. Next slide, please. Yes, that's it. So thank you very much. And the last part about the linkages with COVID-19, I think that's an important point for us, particularly going forward in terms of trying to work with the DMCs in developing air, projects to address air pollution. I think this COVID-19 and what we've learned from from it is a good entry point. That's it from my end, Bruce. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Karma. That's a good framing. So let's move straight on to our next session, which Lisa Padkalin-Allen will lead. We'll capture a few thoughts through the Mentimeter session before we pass back to you, Karma.
I am sharing my screen, and I put in the chat the address, the website, and the code. So please put the code in, and then you can vote. We have a lot of choices here on the multiple choice, and you can vote for more than one answer. And if you'd like to see the results from yesterday, we put the files in the folder that has all the PowerPoints and other information about this session, 2-day session. And we'll put those in at the end of the day today. So we're getting a few clear winners here. The first one and the 7th one are coming out pretty strongly. Insufficient capacity and complex issue. So it looks like number 4, inadequate response from DMCs, is very low. So that's a good thing. It's a good sign. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next question. I think we've got everybody here. Oh, a couple more. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. So this one is open-ended, so you can just type in your answers. And some of them will pop up on the screen. We won't be able to see all of them. Okay, so thank you for all of your inputs. I will wait a couple more minutes for a couple more people, but I just wanted to stop sharing my screen. So we're going to go on to the group exercises now. So Karma, would you like to explain how it's going to work? And I'll try to share my screen with the list.
Yes, please, Lisa. If
Before we move on, would you mind just to give us one more look at those? Because I think it's an important input into the next session with the group. So it was a little fast just to digest a little bit of some of those thoughts there.
Yeah, and I can scroll down. So I think everyone kind of saw this. screen. Wait, let me share again. Okay, there we go. So I think everyone saw most of these, so I can scroll down.
So we've got a mix of things from, policy support, institutional capacity, it's like knowledge development, sectoral investments, low carbon investments, air quality monitoring and modeling. We heard from that from World Bank. There's quite a bit there in terms of that monitoring side. Green shipping. I guess that's around where we've got ports and river transport going through cities. So public transport. Okay, thank you. So that's helpful. Just to let you know, also through your Mentimeter, you can actually, at the end of this, you can see the voting results and then ask for them to be emailed to you as well. So you can capture them that way if you want to have a closer
look. That's great, I didn't realize that.
Okay, sorry, back to you then, Lisa and Karma. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. So I think the 3 group leaders have been informed. We have divided the participants into 3 groups, and Lisa will share the screen with the names.
Yeah. Just give me 1 second here. But I think we may have had some changes, but I'm just going to put up what I had before. And then I think the changes are minor in any case.
And Chris, you have the access to the, you know, right? Because you are the ones that's sending them to groups.
So you can look for your department.
Yeah, I'll be opening 3 breakout rooms, and I will be manually assigning all the participants into each room. And after I open the room, you will get an invitation to join the room afterwards. So I'll be doing the breakout rooms now.
Hold on, Chris. I think
Okay.
before we send them, we need to explain the group exercise, no?
Oh, sure, no problem.
Isn't there a follow-up table, Lisa, which shows by group 1? So that's also maybe easier, especially for the chairs to see. Where and I'm not sure, once you have your groups, if there are too many people in one group, because we are not sure if everybody in the list actually joined the meeting. Because, for example, I don't think Preeti and Jamie are here. So we may need to rearrange a little bit, but maybe first.
Karma, I'm here.
Is Preeti here?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you, Preeti. Is Jamie here?
Jamie's not here.
Okay, Jamie is not
Good.
there.
Welcome, Preeti. Glad you could join.
Yeah, it's great that you could join. So maybe what we will do is, let me explain the group exercise, and then we send them to groups and see who's got, if there is a huge imbalance, then maybe we can shift people a bit. But if not, maybe just stick with those numbers, since again, it will, every extra step means extra time. So does everybody have an assigned, is your name, can you see your name here, all the participants? Does anybody not see their name?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's okay, huh? So nobody is left without a group. Okay, great. So then maybe I will, so this file is also there in the SharePoint folder that we had shared with the participants. And Lisa, would it be possible to shift to the workshop agenda?
Yep.
Exercise?
Yeah, just let me stop sharing and get over to another screen. There we go. Okay.
So we have the, yeah, you need to scroll up. Yeah, so these are, we have assigned 2 questions for each group. Group 1 is chaired by Ravi, Group 2 by Neeta, and Group 3 by Priyanta. So for each group, there are 2 questions, and if you can please discuss amongst your group and come up with the answers. And we will share another sort of note taking. We have a SharePoint file that is created. So once you assign to your groups, we will share that file with you, the one who's taking the notes. And within each group from our team, so we will have Mark Broomfield supporting Ravi's group, Group 1. We will have Bulgan supporting Group 2, Neeta, and we will have Lisa supporting Priyanta's group from our end. So, of course, we would suggest that the discussions and the key points be brainstormed and discussed amongst you. But Lisa, Bulgan, and Mark can help with taking notes or whatever kind of help that you need from them, if you can please ask for their help. And then, so this will roughly be about 20 minutes. And then after that, we will invite you back into the main group, and 5 minutes per group to discuss your key points. Is that okay? So I think in that case, we should already send people to the groups. Everything clear? Ravi, Neeta, and Priyanta, our 3 chairs.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, Chris.
Now, I hope you had some productive discussions in those spaces. So now coming back, we've got some time allocated, a few minutes for each group to report back. Is that right, Kama? We'll go into each of the chairs to give us their reports back?
Yes, Bruce, that's right.
Okay, so shall we run through? So Ravi, would you like to go first?
Yeah, for Group 1, Antonio would sum up and we can supplement him once he's done.
Wonderful. Thank you, Antonio. Thanks, Ravi.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we can.
From Group 1, well, we had 2 questions. So the first question, what are the main challenges for development projects on air quality management or projects with air quality management components, and what can be done to address them? Here, 3 main points came out. The first one is that usually it's not a top priority from our DMCs, air quality management. You know, there are some examples recently, well, PRC or Mongolia, that where there has been some air quality management mentioned in the CPSs, but overall, it is not a priority for our DMCs. And here the question is, do we need a stronger policy dialogue with the governments to really expand, you know, our program in this area? And obviously, we hear that other organizations like the World Bank, you know, do have stronger programs in this area than ADB, and they do have this. You know, enhanced policy dialogues with government. So the question is here how to ADB to catch up on this. We do have examples of course in some successful activities, and here there's a distinction between, you know, bigger programs like the BTH program in China, in the PRC, and probably the bigger programs are more viable compared to smaller projects which are city focused. So maybe this is one approach that should be properly discussed among all of us to see, you know, what kind of format are we looking for our activities to take. And the final point on this question was also on staff and the resources. There was a feeling that there was not enough or staff with the right background and skills within the bank, that this workshop was actually a good first example of bringing all of us together that could bring into to this area. But there's a feeling that maybe in terms of resources that ADB needed to strengthen that a little bit also. Then the second question, which is what are the institutional and governance systems for air quality management in DMCs and cities, and who could be the EA and IA for air quality projects and components? Well, here, obviously, we discussed a little bit on the government side, and we all recognize the limitations that exist on governments in terms of, because this is a very cross-sectoral area, or theme. So, from our experience, we all know how certain governments struggle in having proper coordination among all different agencies or different ministries. There are some examples where there is a little bit more of a success, like in Mongolia, but overall there's an acknowledgement that on the government side, this would be a struggle. And here, obviously, maybe ADB should take the lead in this and as a coordinator on the initiative, and take the lead in bringing certain agencies and ministries together. Obviously, this also led to an acknowledgement that on our side, on ADB, we also work in silos, and we also struggle on many occasions to, develop a proper one ADB approach. So this is something that, if ADB needs to take the lead in this, we should get our act together a little bit as well. And one particular example that was discussed in the group on this was on the issue of air quality monitoring, which is crucial. It's the air quality monitoring in terms of information and data, and how crucial data and information is for successful programs in this area. And how on the government side, this data and information is scattered among many agencies and many ministries. And this is a good example of where, ADB should really take the lead in bringing different actors together. I think that's it from me. Maybe other people from my group, if they want to add and strengthen.
If I may, actually Preeti is here, but a strong point on this was that ADB itself is not pushing this envelope enough, and that we have, for instance, in India, she mentioned a TA 2008-2010 on a similar subject, which seems to have been forgotten, including whatever learnings were. I have not seen that report, very frankly. But yeah, so that is the thing, that we are supposed to start pushing governments into the dialogue, otherwise they will not move. And she made the point that if other agencies like World Bank are able to move ahead, then why not ADB start engaging?
Yeah, I think the point that you, Ravi, that you just mentioned on that in the past, ADB has been active in this area, and so there should be an exercise also of compilation and analysis of our past activities to just gather lessons learned for this. That will be a good starting point also. Yeah.
I guess that is it from our group, Bruce.
Great. Well, thank you, Ravi and Antonio. You've set the bar high. That was pretty clear and really useful points. So let's hand over to Nita and team there, see if they can emulate your insights. Over to you, Nita.
Thanks, Bruce. We have a kind presenter who was volunteered. Alison, may I ask Alison to present, and we'll add. Thank you.
Thanks, Nita, and hi, everyone. So we had some really good discussion. So our questions were, so the first question was, what are the main challenges for developing projects on air quality management or projects within air quality management components? What can be done to address them? So I guess some of the main points that came out of our discussion were that, first of all, ADB is really not well known for air quality. This isn't a natural area of support where our DMCs would come in and ask us for help on. So we need to do a better job of showcasing areas where we can provide support to address air quality issues. We need to build partnerships with recognized entities that are well known, like WHO, for example. So to promote our visibility in this area. It also was acknowledged that, tackling air pollution is very complex and will take a lot of time. So a phased approach is critical. Also, we talked about needing to clearly define where we can add value. And to do this, really targeting maybe on 2-3 key niche areas where we can really build up our expertise. We need to ramp up cross-sectoral investments to tackle air pollution, which is a multi-sectoral issue, and break silos to do that. It was also acknowledged that, in particular in the transport sector, which is a major contributor to air pollution, ADB has significantly ramped up our investments in recent years in mass rapid transit. We also discussed the need for policies and plans to be in place to basically pave the way and set the scene for the necessary interventions to tackle air pollutions. We also talked about some of the needs for financial incentives and tools to motivate improvements in air quality, like carbon markets and so on. And then finally, we talked about potentially using the CPS as an entry point. Apparently World Bank uses air quality as one of the key pillars when they're talking about their country strategy to engage thoroughly on this issue. And I think this air quality is rarely at the forefront of our CPS discussions. So potentially another area we could look at. So for the second question, which was, what are the how could we use the current pandemic as an entry point to develop projects on air quality and package it as a green recovery project? I think everyone acknowledged that COVID, particularly here in Manila and other big Asian cities, for the first time we had blue skies, which was something completely unknown pre-COVID. So people now have a taste of clean air. So hopefully we can build on this momentum to gain support to tackle air pollution. We talked about some of the opportunities to promote non-motorized mobility. Many cities, there was a big shift towards cycling to promote resilience. So many cities have since committed to significantly ramping up biking infrastructure. But at the same time, one of the challenges that was raised is that, given ADB has significantly ramped up our investments in public transport, ridership rates have plummeted during COVID because of concerns over health and safety issues. So we really do have a role in restoring public confidence and promoting a shift back to mass transit to try and get people back out of their cars and onto public transport. So maybe can I just ask anyone else and others in my group whether I missed any key points? Please feel free to add.
I think you covered everything so well. I mean, maybe Emma, would you like Emma, Virinder, would you like to add to some of these?
I think comments have been duly addressed, and it was very comprehensive answer. Nothing more to add from my side.
Yeah, that's all from our group. Looks like Emma is not adding either. Emma, last thoughts? Gone.
Sorry, I tried to do the mute button. No, I think that was very comprehensive, Alison. Thank you.
Thanks, Alison. Yeah. Good we volunteered you.
Yeah, excellent summary, Alison. Thank you. This is fantastic. From both teams so far, there's really some great insights that I think help us build a program. So let's go over to Priyantha. So we'll hear from the last team, and then after that, Karma will take us into the next group session, and then we'll have further group discussion after that as well.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you very much. And as for Group 3, we have an excellent presenter, Pushka, will take over and will be able to summarize our discussion. Pushka, over to you.
Thank you, Priyantha. So we had a nice discussion. The time was sufficient. There were two questions. One was, would it be possible for ADB to develop cross-sectoral project that includes air quality improvement. And we discussed whether, number one, whether it is possible or not, and number two, if it is possible, how is it possible? And there was an unanimous kind of a decision that yes, it is possible to include air quality improvements in our projects, much like we have done climate change in the past. So we decided that it could be part of all projects, whether it is urban, whether it is transport or energy, and air quality improvement could be made as a component of the project. There was also a suggestion that there could be annual targets fixed by the regional departments to achieve, and that could be monitored. So finally, we thought that yes, if we have the will, we will have the way to include air quality improvements in our project. Now, the second part of the question was, if we do that, how do we do that? And Ulaanbaatar is a burning example. We felt, yes, it could be done. Like in Ulaanbaatar that we heard yesterday, the low-hanging fruit of reducing the primary reason of raw coal burning by converting it to briquettes could bring down the air quality or pollution largely. That kind of things could be tried out. Similarly, in Beijing, it was done. So what needs to be done, if we have to find out how, is to develop a roadmap, analyze the sources from where the pollution is coming, and then prioritize our policies and decide on investments needed based on the analysis of the sources. Livable cities can include air quality improvement, much like we do for water supply, sanitation, drainage, or solid waste management. Similarly, for transport sector, there could be a GIS-based monitoring system which can monitor the SOx level and NOx level, and that could lead us to an holistic policy of how to manage in terms of types of vehicle. It could be converted to electric vehicle. There could be ways to manage congestions, and there could be even shipping. We had a issue of green shipping, one of the suggestions. So for green shipping, we can even include private sectors and give them incentives. So those are the ways by which air quality improvement could be included in all projects of ADB. The second question was, what kind of financing modality would be best suited for such interventions? And we felt that it will depend on the analysis of the airshed. So once we know what sources are contributing to the pollution, then only we can decide what kind of interventions are needed and what would be the best financing modality. But overall, it was felt that PBL or RBL, depending upon the target, would be one good source if it is a cross-sectoral intervention that we need to do. We can also work with the private sector for things like shipping that was discussed, or for biomass project that is being done in India. And there was also a suggestion to set up special fund to improve air quality and to encourage RDs or the regional departments to include air quality in their projects. So that is what I could gather. If anyone from my group has any more points that I might have missed out, you may please add. Thank you.
Thank you, Pushka. Anybody else who would like to? That's a good summary of what we discussed. So, anybody else who would like to contribute or add on?
Yeah, may I add on? I think, yeah, Pushka did an excellent job. I think at the end, we talk about, at the beginning also, the target setting. And then we talk about that should also be based on sound analysis of sources and the relative cost of each sources to reduce each pollution sources. Because if the sources targeted by our project only contribute a small share of the target pollution in an airshed, then we cannot achieve, even though a project achieves a reduction of amount target, cannot achieve the air quality improvement target because it's a small share. So it's, again, target setting should be also based on the analysis of an airshed and the contribution of a different sector and different geographic within the airshed.
Thank you, Shane. Anybody else? Yep, over to you, Bruce. Thank you.
I think Bruce has to leave, though I still see his name on the screen. Bruce, are
Okay.
you? Yes.
I think, Karma, you can take over if that is the case.
Bruce
Yes.
has another important engagement. He had to leave. So from here, I, together with Chris Moon, I think Chris is also around, so we will take it forward from here. Thank you very much, Group 3. I think it's great that you have quite some comprehensive and some very detailed answers, and it's actually quite encouraging to see this kind of interaction, and you know how much thought that you're giving into this discussion. So I think we should move right on to the next round of group exercise. And just to keep things easy, we will just stick with the same group as earlier. We had actually distributed you all into 2 different groups in the 2 rounds, but let's stick to the same group to save on time. But just to give you a quick background on so the 2 questions is the same for all 3 groups in this round. And this is really trying to, how do I say, the first step to converting these ideas that we have discussed into, you know, some kind of action. So it's looking at what can be done from your respective divisions in the operational departments. And then the second question is what activities could be included within the Asia Clean Blue Sky program. So just to give you a bit of a background, so I am running this, I'm managing this TA in the environment thematic group, and we have at the moment just a small amount of budget, and VP has been actually encouraging and pushing us to do more for air quality improvement. So we have a small amount of budget, and next year we will look to add more budget, and from our end also we will look to provide whatever support we can to your respective divisions. So, and then we would like to call this the overall Asia Clean Blue Sky program. And under that, hopefully we will have like a nice pipeline of projects coming up over the next 2-3 years. So that's the overall idea, but we wanted to make sure that we develop this program in consultation with the operational departments and not just, you know, develop it on our own in isolation. So that's a quick background. And I think, Yasmin, would you like to join one of the groups since you are here?
Yeah, sure, Karma, I can join a group.
Where do we have the fewest number of people? Maybe you can join them.
Yeah, room 2.
Room 2, group 2. Okay,
yeah.
So Nita's group. So we will go for the second round. It's 4:25, and looks like we may go a little bit over time, but I think probably you already will finish quicker this time because the question is quite clear, and I think you've already discussed a lot of the main points in the earlier round. So 4:26. So maybe by around 4:50, roughly, if you can finish by then. And of course, we will again send you the prompt, the reminder to come back to the main room. So I think this time around, you can just click on the button and go to your assigned rooms. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. So I think let's go straight to the group presentations. And since Ravi needs to leave soon, maybe we go ahead with Ravi's group.
Ricky has volunteered kindly to.
Yes. I thought I was going to volunteer for someone else. Anita is nodding her head, pre-arranged. But so because I was supposed to speak for group on the second session, I'll do it for group one. So, interesting questions that you had, Karma. I think first we would like to thank you for organizing this. I think it came out in the discussion that discussions like this are very important and it has actually been missing in the past. So let me evade the first question first, because we thought starting with the first question was more logical. So on what the TA can do, there are predecessor TAs, and I think we should learn from the predecessor TAs on what has been learned from those and what can be applied, what can be updated. But we think that the TA, for the TA, it's very important to have information, getting information, building the knowledge is very important, including monitoring where it's required. Because in essence, what we would like to see is that this exercise would find entry points, seeing what has worked and what has not worked with the other institutions and organizations that have been ahead of us, and basically understanding also where ADB can fit into this process. And in finding the entry points, there might be the outcome might be scoping a project, having a roadmap and a strategy to implement. So that sort of answers the second question. We basically don't want to answer the question because we think that, a roadmap should be there. It should be studied more carefully, because what has been happening is that it has been quite fragmented. There are projects that implement, an air quality component, etc., but really no bigger look at the whole issues. And in all of this, the discussion has to be multisectoral, even within ADB, right? For example, PSOD has a big scope. It was mentioned in our group that a lot of the air quality investments are probably more fit to be non-sovereign rather than sovereign. So these are the things that your TA might be able to tease out of such discussions. And again, in thanking you for organizing this, what was clear in our discussion was that there has to be a platform to discuss these issues. That has been probably what has been missing, with everyone talking about being in silos. That's actually what has happened in the past. And also all of these things like that important TA, which I remember Tatiana being involved in. I don't know who's still as old as me who remembers Tatiana, but those things weren't carried over. And that's the reason why a platform like this is important. I think there should be a group to be able to discuss, because a lot of us have their own experiences in this, and so it should transcend personalities. And on top of that, there should be someone to drive it. So above our level, perhaps that should be something that is thought about. There should be someone strategically at a higher level. I mean, where does air quality sit? There's mention of climate change being the seat of the climate change group being the seat of air quality, but it's not really there, right? So there should be a decision of where this should be at, whether there should be a different group for this, a different chief for this, perhaps, or those kinds of decisions. So strategically, someone should drive it, and there should be a robust group behind it. And this is the right platform for that. So if any other people in my room, in my group, would like to add, Ravi, maybe?
No, Ricky, I think you've summed up all what was discussed. Nothing more to add. So basic, I think, summary is that data, collaboration with others, ownership within ADB, which is almost not there, and looking at past information, and then going ahead to what we can do in terms of projects.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great. Thank you. Very, very good and useful points from group one. Shall we move to group two?
Thank you, Karma. We have our volunteered again presenter, Luca. May I ask Luca to please show our summary? Thank you.
Yes, I was volunteered by Nita. Thank you. So, so we had two questions, and one is related to what operational departments can do to address air quality through our projects. And I think here the response, I mean, the discussion was very interesting. The first step, I think everyone agreed on the further need to engage with, I mean, more policy dialogue. So on the policy side, also to, you know, sort of bring more interest from our DMCs into the air quality issue. And also, you know, sort of work on integrating some air quality improvement features into projects regardless of you know, the sector. So, for example, in the urban sector, the idea of installing solar panels or some clean energy to operate the wastewater treatment plants, you know, could be an idea. Or you know, in terms of if you think about you know, rural electrification projects, or you know, for the urban sector, also looking at the city development. So in the planning, so earlier stage, Alison mentioned about this concept of, you know, more compact cities, these 15 minutes you know, cities where, you know, you really have you can promote this kind of a concept within and integrate in our projects. On this also, you know, there was also discussed the idea of having, you know, more holistic projects, and as I mentioned, more cross-sectorial projects, like the integration of, you know, for example, transport project, this transit-oriented project with also, you know, and with energy parts. One very interesting idea came up on the need, especially from the operational departments, to find entry points. And the entry points are both internal as well as external. But first, probably the internal ones are the you know, most important and needed. And here really, you know, we need to really convince our management, you know, DGs, even, I mean, I also mentioned this, what happened with the Ocean Health Initiative, right? By the time, you know, the president endorsed it, then, you know, the direction completely changed. So we really need to find a champion there, as, you know, try as operational departments to find out the champions and reach the higher level. A little bit, so what Ricky was mentioning before. And then we had this second question, which was a little bit more sort of easier to answer, because many of us came from operation department. So it's more like what SDCC can do, and you know, what they can include in this TA and the Clean Asia Initiative. Again, a lot of support to operational departments, especially, you know, for example, when the operation department engage in policy dialogue with the DMCs. So bring expertise, but also help us in communicating, you know, what is required, what is needed, and also show us, also to project officers who are really keen to, you know, bring this issue further on the agenda. So help us in trying to identify what we can do practically. And this is also very important, because we are not, everyone is not an expert of, you know, air quality. So we need the CCC also to help us in identifying this. Strike the right partnership. It was mentioned earlier that we are not, you know, the first point of reference when you want to do an air quality project. So how we build that, how we bring a, you know, whether partnership with who has this expertise. And also bring some resources, of course, you know, we need as, you know, operation department, some, you know, resources on how, you know, we can really include these elements into the projects. So I think I covered more or less what was our discussion, but if anyone has anything to add, please go ahead. Thank you.
You need to unmute me, Nita.
Thank you, Luca. Very wonderfully summarized. Nothing to add from my side, but this whole point of, don't tell us to do more paperwork, and give us funds and resources and technical know-how and help us bring these multi-sectoral stakeholders on the table together. STCC can do a better job of just making everybody sit around the table than we do. This was there. Anyone else from our team to add to these? Okay, nobody. Thank you, Karma. That's all from our side.
Thank you, Nita. Thank you, Luca. Some great points there and a lot of material for us to work on under the Clean Blue Sky program. Can I move on to group 3? Priyanta, your group, please.
Yes, thank you, Karma. I think from our side, Sheng will make the presentation. Sheng, over to you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Our group come up with 3 major ideas to answer the first question, what ODs can do on air quality. And the first is the ODs can work together with our client countries and to identify the urgent hotspots for air quality control. Basically identify airshape and then to carry out source analysis of contribution from different sector and from different geographic units within the airshape, and then relative cost of abatement cost, so that the government authority can prioritize and then to plan to have a roadmap to get their soft activity in terms of policy and instrument, and also investment planning in terms of short-term, medium-term, long-term, so that we can get some quick results, so that we encourage people to be more welcoming to our air quality improvement and then the initiative. And then the second idea people raise about at the project and the program level, and the group felt that it's better to can do something at program level, like strategic environmental assessment, instead of EIA at project level, given the nature of air pollution is more fluid than water. And then there's a lot of contributors, so it need to be attributable. And third idea is about to include some of the indicators to build in some incentive for project leader to include air pollution control, air quality management in the project. For example, in the DMF, to have some encourage at the beginning, say, including some actions as a DMF indicator, and gradually moving to some quantitative indicator like we did for gender, for climate change. And as to the second question, what this TA can help, the first idea is I raised from the last session that probably can help to create a trust fund on air quality management, and then using this as a platform to support various activities that proposed here. For example, the second idea is about the software, this awareness raising in countries among people, and promote the behavior change to promote push for the paradigm shift. And also this TA could, to finance, to conduct some of the pilot roadmap developing air quality management plan for certain airshape, say a city, a major city, or a valley that is heavily polluted, to carry out source analysis, abatement cost analysis, and then develop a policy framework and investment plan, so that these can be also facilitate, ADB or other MDB project development, because it will easily create a rationale that is often we struggle at concept stage with the client. And then people feel that otherwise, without a roadmap, without this management plan, that would be a hazy what to do, especially for DMCs, and also this idea of air quality management plan for city is in the original concept paper of this TA, and we hope it can stay on. And then the last idea is about similar to this, connected to this, is to establish baseline of say of our target airshape, prioritize the city so that we can have a evidence-based approach. And then it is suggested that we can join effort with other agency like UNEP, which presented yesterday. They seem to have monitoring for years and then have database, so we can work together. And then also develop kind of methodology for measuring the air quality or the reduction of air pollution with other MDB like we did in GAG counting. So that's all what I gathered. So please add if I miss anything.
I think you summarized it quite well, Shane. Anybody else from our group, group 3, to add to what Shing just said? Yeah, that's it. Karma, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Priyanta. Thank you, Shin. Again, a lot of very useful points and good information for us to take forward, particularly for the TA. Thank you. And we are running behind time, but the last part, we will keep it very quick. So if we can do the Mentimeter, Lisa?
Sure, I put the link in the chat, and then I will share my screen. So if you can put that code in your cell phone or your browser.
My video off. Wait.
That looks quite supportive, Karma.
Yes. It's,
I don't have any no answers, so that's good.
we only have 6 responded, no, 8 responded.
8. Yeah, but how many? I know some people had to leave.
Yes.
Karma, if you don't mind, I leave now. I have to rush for another pre-board meeting. Is it okay?
Yes, Priyanta. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and you can still answer the Mentimeter question. I'll leave the second one open. So the second one. Okay. And I'll just leave it open. So if people have to leave, they can still answer. I'll leave it open until like 5:30.
Yes. So while we go through the next, because this is also another very important part, because I know usually we have a target, but I would really like to have a target for this Clean Blue Sky program, which is realistic and agreed on by everybody from the start. Like, I don't want to just put some number without any, basis, and then somehow we all have to force ourselves to meet the target. I don't want to put us in that kind of situation.
Ano ba yan? Remove friends.
Not quite so clear, Karma.
Yes, definitely not a dollar amount. I get that.
If I may, I think this is something we need further discussions. It's just a rough guess. So once you have the concept of how your program may look, come back to us. We would be very happy to engage to come up with more, time spent on this. This is an important question.
Sure, Nita, that is the plan actually. This is just initial, just to see your initial reaction. And then of course we will need to have a more detailed one-on-one discussions and then see how to develop this. But this is just kind of sowing the seed of thought in your mind.
Thanks, Karma, understood.
Thank
I
you.
was just gonna add, I agree too with what Nita said, but maybe it just doesn't have to be just one indicator. I mean, why limit ourselves to one? Because because there are different types of projects, and some will need a lot of investments and get a little bit of PM 2.5 reduced, and there's other pollutants and others awareness raising. So it's really wide ranging, and why limit yourself to just one? But anyhow, just more discussions, that would be great.
Yes, yes. So, okay, I think we just move on to the next. Thank you, Lisa. People can still put in their answers, right? In the meantime?
Yes.
So I think the next is just to quickly wrap up before we hand over to Yasmin to close the workshop. May I invite Chris Moon from Urban Sector Group. Chris, do you want to help to give a few highlight the key points that have been discussed?
Hi, yes, sure. This is Chris Moon from Urban Sector Group. There is so much wealth of information that has been shared through the last 2 hours, and I think each group has done a marvelous job of actually summarizing everything. So I don't intend to go through everything and summarize every aspect that was shared with us, but just to quickly recap some of the key points. I think there was an understanding in terms of what kind of challenges that we have in pursuing air quality integration into our projects or standalone projects. I think we do have some very good projects that have already been done, like the BTH project or the Ulaanbaatar project. And we also do have TAs currently going on. That is the one that Karma is the RETA that Karma and her team is responsible for, as well as it's a sub-project under a Livable Cities TA that I actually leading as well. So I think some of those can actually be some of the references and points that we can take forward, as well as some of examples that we heard from yesterday in terms of what other institutions are doing, as well as what other MDBs are pursuing. So those will be some lessons learned and some actions that's already been taken and knowledge that has been accumulated for us to tap into. We also talked about some of the institutional and governance structures within DMCs. Now, and we had also mentioned let's say some actions that needs to be taken, but also at the same time, challenges that we face internally as well as externally, meaning that internally, we still work in silos and we don't have a lot of integrated projects, because integrated projects actually require us to lower our silos and be able to talk to each other and have that dialogue. And that also is mirrored in our DMCs as well in terms of their governance structures, and because they also work in silos. In that respect, there has been some discussions on where SDCC can come into picture on this, so that we can also help to promote the dialogue, policy dialogue, as well as other bringing partnerships, as well as other resources that are available within and outside of ADB for technical assistance, technical expertise, as well as resources and others. Now, what else did we talk about? Okay, in terms of, we talked about a little bit more on the financial modalities that we can utilize to make this happen. So RBLs and PBLs, we had discussions on that in terms of viable instruments that we can work with, because they're a lot more flexible and they can be cross-sectoral by design, as well as to bring in some private sector operations as well, private sector opportunities that exist within this air quality management, air quality work that we are pursuing at the same time. So I think we also had had discussions in terms of what actions can be taken from ODs as well as SDCC. Some of them I've already mentioned. I think there were a lot of discussion in terms of source analysis and evidence-based planning, etc. So which means a scientific approach to understanding what air quality, what kind of harm air quality does to us or to our DMCs, as well as to find out the source of air quality, bad air quality, and we need to start from there in order for us to come up with good solutions to approach. Now, air quality issues, they vary greatly from internal to ambient, external, and the sources of air quality varies greatly also. So it is a very good start to have source analysis so that we can have a good understanding of where they come from, so that we can come up with viable solutions. Besides that, let's say, we just had so much good discussions here. So, and I think we had also talked about ways to engage higher levels. So the software component that needs to come into the picture so that we can increase the awareness of internally as well as externally, so that DMCs have better awareness, both the government officials, the public, and other stakeholders and partners who are engaged in this area. Besides that, so what can we do in SDCC? I think I talked a little bit about that, but TA support, trust funds somehow, so that we can, it's a platform to raise the awareness, just as taking an approach such as how we started with climate change or gender aspects to mainstream those within our projects. And coming up with some common indicators, methodologies across our projects. We also had talked about behavior change campaigns, implementing the measures so that at the end of the day, development efforts has a lot to do with how much change we can bring to our DMCs. That's at the micro level for the people and for the governments and for the cities, etc. So that the change we're trying to bring, it will be sustainable. So I'll end here for now. If there's anything else that Karma that you would like to bring, it's just so much wealth of information that we had exchanged.
I think you covered everything very well, Chris.
Thank you.
Very comprehensive. Thank you so much. Yes, this was a lot of good points. So I think since we are quite late, Yasmin, may I invite you to close the workshop?
Thanks, Karma. Thanks, everybody.
It was really good to see everyone. Whilst I joined the meetings late, this event late, but it was really great to listen to everyone and get some insights from even the brief sessions I joined. So firstly, thank you to everybody for the invitation today. And I'm really pleased that we're taking this first major step towards considering ADB's efforts in air quality improvement. A particular thanks to Karma, who's led this first event, and also for all of the interesting insights shared by colleagues. I think what really came out to me was also the passion with which many people have spoken. And so clearly, this is not just a great collaborative exercise between SDCC and ops departments, but I see that there's much wealth of information, which the earlier presenter also mentioned. So commending the environmental thematic group and urban sector group for organizing this event, also extending, I would say, a real commendation to Ravi, Nita and Priyantha for leading the discussions, and to all the participants who have been so actively engaged in the brainstorming. So over the past days, what has been shared and expressed is that this is a high priority and a challenging issue. It does require joint efforts, and I believe, even just a few days ago, I commented similar to Karma, and just now in the breakout group, that for the division that I'm with, that we have environment in our actual title, and yet when it came to asking who leads air quality in our department, I was getting a lot of mixed messages. So the discussions today have reinforced that there is this need to work across groups, across the silos, again, as many people have mentioned, and then across the bank as well, between SDCC and ops departments. Air pollution is a major environmental and health issue in our region. And what we do know is that there's a tremendous opportunity here for ADB to contribute more. Again, I heard today that many people have mentioned the initiatives of other MDBs, and why isn't ADB doing similarly? That brings me to my next point, which is the importance of the high-level support. And definitely in our breakout group, we talked about the need for internal and external champions, I would say. And internally, definitely, from my perspective, it's really essential that the messaging comes ideally from the highest level. But if we are really to make traction, even whether it's at the CPS level, then without that higher level champion, whether it's at the VP level, at the Vice President of Ops department, or Director General level, then trying to bring it into the CPS dialogue will be very challenging. So this entry point is really crucial to think about. And I see that a lot of ideas have been shared today, and I'm sure much can be built on those. But I would really recommend that finding the champion, ideally at the highest level, just like we've seen with the Healthy Oceans initiative, would be most opportune. We see that the holistic approach is really important, and how we as individuals within the bank can think more broadly. So even if I initially thought, well, how does my division contribute when we're not in the urban space? But then there are those options of bringing ideas into the initiatives that we do implement or support, in which air quality can be built in. And as Karma and I discussed, the opportunity is already there very much through our safeguard documentation as well, where we do bring in air quality as an element. And so there is already something to build upon. And when we're talking about building upon experiences and lessons, we know that from East Asia Regional Department, there's been much past experience already from PRC and Mongolia. Ricky, you also mentioned initial, let's say, sort of more low-level initiatives that could be scaled up. And those would be very valuable also to introduce to the highest levels and share how these can contribute. The past days have also shared experiences from the World Bank and EBRD, which presented yesterday. So there is an increasing understanding based on initial small steps, but these can be seen as opportunities to scale up. Going forward, I'm excited to see that the joint working of the Environmental Thematic Group and Urban Sector Group, and I hope many other sector groups, could lead in the process for developing the Asia Clean Blue Sky program. Importantly, and I see as crucial, is to encourage that buy-in from ops departments, whether that's through increasing awareness and messaging upwards, which can help to initiate or generate suitable projects to contribute to the program in future. So everyone, thank you all once again, and wish you a pleasant evening. As I said earlier, it was great to see everyone. It almost felt like we were all together somewhere in that building. So nice to see you all, and thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for your active participation. So we will be reaching out individually as follow-up actions to this workshop and sharing the workshop report with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.